So Nancy Mace gave a speech at the RNC, and insanely enough, it's not the speech by itself that I thought was interesting enough to talk about. I'll play some of it, and then we'll get into more of her bizarre tendencies.
I'm the daughter of an Army Brigadier General and a school teacher. I've admired my dad's Distinguished Service Cross from Vietnam. I've endured the rigors of a Citadel education. And today I represent a district that includes Paris Island, where we make Marines. What we're witnessing today is proof that strength preserves peace and weakness invites war. We can never project strength around the world when weakness stands in the White House. Nations like China see weakness as opportunity. China's fentanyl invades our borders. Their arms supply Putin's regime. China supports enemy states like Iran. They oppress their own people, especially their women. The world is watching America, and we must show them what we're made of. And I know a strong leader when I see one. Donald Trump stood up to China before, and he will do it again. Anyone who thinks they can take on Donald Trump or take down America is now on notice. Just as Trump quickly rose to his feet with a defiant fist in the air in Butler Township, Pennsylvania, when we re-elect him as president in November, America will soon be back on hers. We will be courageous, we will be resilient, we will be united, and we will be prepared to take on the challenges of this historic moment. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America, and God bless Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
So her speech was mostly just China bad, Biden bad, China bad. And what I thought was so interesting is that Biden has largely kept much of what Trump has done with respect to China going. I mean, she kind of speaks in these nebulous terms, so people whose memories aren't as well versed, maybe they didn't hear about it when it happened, might not know, but Trump launched a trade war with China that was, I'd argue, mostly inconclusive. He signed, some act condemning human rights abuses, and Biden has largely kept the same antagonism toward them. Oh, they've stolen this many American jobs, and etc. So when she says, "Oh well, weakness invites war," okay, but Biden's policy on China is arguably one of the few consistent through lines between the two presidents. And the part of this that's actually sort of depressing, because like there's some every time these people give a speech, they always have biographical stuff, right? So she's like, I was the youngest, or I first woman to graduate from the Citadel, and her dad and her mom, and being a survivor of, it's all the stuff like that's fine. I have nothing to say about it because it's par for the course with these people. They're trying to introduce themselves to the U.S., or I guess a larger audience than normal for them. It's fine by me. What I do take issue with is that you hear so many of Trump's sycophants, his sidekicks, who will sit here and talk about America first. It's a nebulous term, as I've described before, but they talk about America first, and you hear a phrase like that, and it would invoke the idea that they are concerned about the well-being, or first concern is Americans, right? But nowhere in this several minute long speech. I didn't play the whole thing, but you could watch the earlier part if you want to. Does she mention anything about homelessness or these, wages that have been stagnant for over for literal years? All these deaths by mass shootings. Like, she's clearly trying to equate fentanyl coming over the border supposedly to, oh, this will have a negative impact on Americans. But what about all these other pressing issues that in many cases affect larger amounts of Americans that the GOP really has no answer for other than to just blame the Democrats if they're in power, which will then lead to them taking office and proceeding to do nothing about the issue as well. So that's the biggest takeaway from her pretty just, I'd say it was really the anti-China speech, like one of the biggest anti-China addresses I've seen at that convention. That was probably the main takeaway from it. Just China bad, China evil, China this. But I also should say that I just find it so fascinating. America first. Let's talk about a foreign country. You know, like, I remember, you look at some of these people that are Trump acolytes, and they'll talk about how, we should stop giving money to Ukraine, invest in our border. That's usually the main thing they mention. They don't talk about like schools or roads or anything that actually, most other issues that would affect or better influence people. So you hear America first, and it invokes this idea of being concerned about domestic things when all you want to do is talk about China and how it's a friend of all these enemy countries. And it's just a more hypocrisy on these people's part. But again, the speech by itself was just whatever. Now, after she gives this speech, she goes on Twitter, and there are people who call her, Barbie. And, I don't talk about the way these people look 9 times out of 10. I'm not going to sit here and make any comments about what she wears. I do think members of Congress would be better. Like, I get they go to these conventions, whatever, but like, you would think of all the issues probably affecting South Carolina right now, what she's wearing is not one that she needs to like directly respond to. Just let the internet people have their due, and especially if it's not even like an insult or some kind of major huge scandal or controversy, that's even more bizarre to like sit there and write back to them. But where things get even weirder is that she posted this picture of her feet, like, I guess her after taking her pumps off or something. And I was so, like, putting aside just how I do think it's bizarre to post yourself in a state of undress, even if it's just like a minor. I mean, I just think it's weird to take off your shoes and then like post it online for everyone to see. Like, I don't see the purpose of that. Again, I can be sympathetic towards, because pumps are hard to walk in. I'm aware of that. I know, they're, especially depending on how big the heel is. But again, I don't see what benefit either her followers or people, like, imagine you've never heard of Mace before, and you watch this speech and you're like, yeah, China's horrible, China, China, China. And then you go and like click on her Twitter, page, like, oh man, she's probably displaying some words of wisdom about how evil China is. And the first thing you see, or one of the first things you see, is a picture of her smiling after taking her shoes off, just for whatever reason. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. That it's her doing something like that is it definitely was one of the weirder things from that convention. Just because it's like, again, they can't just keep it to, they give this speech and then they write some stuff on Twitter or whatever. She had some spat with some guy that was took a picture of her, oh, these people are commenting on my outfit. It really does seem like a lot of these Congress members, they don't do anything. Like, I'm not even just talking about they give their platitude-filled speech that doesn't address any actual plights affecting people, or very little of it. It really seems as if outside of the times they go before Congress and give their little 5 or 10 minute speech on the House or Senate floor, all they do is sit in front of computers and like just type and post weird stuff. And this really is the bottom of the barrel in terms of being weird.